Oh, yeah.
All righty, folks, if you'll have your seat, we'll try and get this started. For you online, if you do not see the presentation, holler up so I can make some changes.
Can I
All
see
right.
it?
You guys can see us?
See the table.
You see, okay, what is it you're viewing?
Gentleman going through a book at a round table.
Okay, so it's not being shared. Let me see here. There we are. There we go. This might be it. All right. Now, do you see the slide from the presentation?
Now we're cooking.
All right, very good. All righty, here we are, part two. And last we left this saga. I broke it up into two parts because it would have been just too long at all. So hopefully we'll go through this in about a half hour, 35 minutes. And the introduction, fancy, huh? Yeah. Long ago and worked so far away. Does it scroll up? No, I couldn't get it to scroll, but we would have. Well, you know, as I have always said, it's not, I don't know, what do I say? Persistence, it's not, it's in there somewhere. It's not persistence, it's patience. It's the other way around, not patience. It's not patience. It's perseverance. That's correct. All right, moving right along. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. We're going to start up again with the flag bags. This is how I created the flag bags at 1/4" scale. There's enough room for plenty of detail. Here, let me get rid of this thing on the bottom. Let me get rid of this. And no, I don't want to end. I would just leave it where it is.
Go back to more, you might be able to, there should be something that says
I
video.
Oh, there it is. One of these. I floating.
I.
One, two down. There.
All right. Technology, isn't it wonderful?
There you go.
All right. Now this thing doesn't work. Why won't this? Oh, there we go. All right. First, I had to create some decals to represent. In the flag bag, you have all the designations, the slots for all the different signal flags, and these would be applied to the flag bag itself. The box was a 3D printed component, which I had to modify, and it measures about maybe 1.5 inches wide, quarters. Not terribly small, but I mean large, but it's plenty big enough for details. And I supplemented the flag bags with the flags. And to create the flags, I did what I usually do. I'll make a decal and then apply it to foil. That way you can shape them and they'll retain their shape from then on. I put in all the little clips and things within the flag bag to represent the hookups for the flag, and then inserted the flags themselves after folding them and stuffing them down inside there. So here you have a fairly detailed image of what the flag bag and all the little flags look like. I didn't really make sure that the right colored flag was in the right slot. I mean, you can't tell one from another. It's like just that they are colorful flags. Moving on to deck details.
Can I ask you a question about the flag?
Why, yes, you can.
Decal paper. This is like the.
This is just generic white decal. You can buy this from any source. I happen to get it from Michael Mark.
They're not self-sticking.
No, it's
the
just
water.
regular water slide
Okay.
decal. And I just print up a sheet of it
Right.
and then apply it to a piece of foil and then cut them up.
What do you use for glue?
The decal itself,
Adhesive on it.
Oh, so you just apply it?
I just
Decal
lay
to
the
the foil.
decal on the tin foil. I'll use an agent like with some of the wetting agents, they have micro sol or something like that to help adhesion. But I've never had any problem with them delaminating. And once you coat, you spray them down with dull coat or something like that, to seal them up after they're done. They seem to be pretty resilient. Well, we'll know in 20 years, but that's not my problem.
You may not.
I got a question.
Yes.
What, as a printer, you use for decals?
I just use a regular home printer, an inkjet.
Ink,
Yeah, just an
it's
inkjet
not
printer.
laser jet or anything like
No, nothing fancy.
that? Okay.
And of course, since you're printing on a white decal background, white is already a color presented to you. It won't print white.
That
It used to be.
also, include, alphabet or flag, symbols,
You mean all the letters and
the
stuff?
lettering.
Yeah, that's all printed out, same thing on the inkjet printer. Yeah. I'll draw it all up in Photoshop, reduce it to scale, and then print them up. It's just what is it? It's a Canon printer.
And you can get your material, your decal paper from Amazon.
Yeah.
Plenty of it there.
Oh,
Even locally,
Hobbytown?
Yeah.
This photo represents some of the added photo etching that I added to some brass parts here, some of the hold downs, the wheels, and so forth. Yeah, weld lines and
Resin?
stuff like that.
The resin weld lines.
Yeah, it's decals from
Okay.
Archer. There's just another view of some of the close-up details, including the nomenclatures on the hatches and stuff like that, using plastic rivets and bolts from I think Meng is a company that makes all these little plastic bolts and nuts and so forth, catering to the armor people.
there's a couple different.
Yeah, some in brass, some in plastic. And it's just a kind of showing you some of the extra details I added to some of the components. Some mixture of 3D printed parts, my own etching, and add-ons. Oh, Derek's looking down the hall. Screen vents, photo etched again. The screening is probably a commercial screen, which you can purchase in a variety of thicknesses and formats. Again, lots of brass. I like working in brass. Drew this all out. Now, trying to imagine flattening this out and figuring out what the plan form of this is, so that when you fold it all up, it looks like something that belongs on a boat. So that's part of the fun of working in
AutoCAD.
Photoshop and a brain
And years.
and
of
years.
your life.
Vegetable locker, my little paper mock-up, and of course the brass. I wanted to make it in brass because that way I could get the little fine details and the vents and all that stuff. Couldn't do that in plastic. Wood it wasn't made of wood anyway. Metal. There's my favorite penny. All righty, floater nets. Everybody knows what a floater net is. And this was the front frame for the floater nets. And then I had to make all the nets go in it. Some frames and lots of soldering to create illusion. Okay, with the screen, and then onto the nets. I made them out of plastic tubing. There was a whole array of corks that were tied together with a rope. I think it was maybe 10 or 15 foot square array that people would scramble on it. So that's what I had to do. I had to kind of thread all of these little cutoffs onto thread, and then warm them up, stuff them in, and there we have floater nets with some little casks and extra stuff that we attached to it. 20mm gun details. I included stuff like, well, the little decal, the identification placards and things that you might see in a typical gun. Again, these were all just reduced from images that I got online and printed out on a decal sheet and back onto the bulwark there. Oops. Reflect. Yes, it's a technical term.
To make sure we're right.
All right, here's just a couple of pictures looking down, showing some of the added details, the depth charge arbors, just piping and just lots of nonsense that you would see on a boat. If it's basically in a picture, it's going to be on the boat. Just that kind of a close-up, kind of give you a little perspective.
Gene, what is the scale again on this one?
This is a 1/4 inch to the foot model. So, I mean, it's a scale large enough that you can really get down to the nuts and bolts if you had the desire. Yeah, well, like I said, if I can see it in a picture, it's on the boat. I don't know what it is half the time, but it's there. Okay, now on to the some davits and things that were added to the depth charge racks for handling. Again, going back to my favorite medium, brass, drew out the components that were necessary to assemble these things. These would be I don't know, a hanger or something that they would attach to the torpedo. I mean the depth charges to reload them, and lots of little hooks. And what I did here after etching them, they're rather flat. Well, these hooks were meaty. They had some depth to them. So what I did is sweat some solder onto them, give them a shape, and that's all there is to that. It works very quickly and very effectively. Lots of little hooks. And this is what I was attempting to replicate, this davit used for charge handling. And there we go.
Mark 9 depth chart.
Yes, they are. All right.
Those are teardrop shapes that they sink very quickly.
Yeah.
They're not like
The ash cans kind of floated, kind of like a leaf. Just kind of, and they sank rather slowly. These would just kind of get the job done quicker. All right. Hose reels again, etched out of brass. Some still in the spruce. Some are soldered together and ready for paint. And there you go, paint. Well, yeah, primer. There's the paint. And loaded up with hawsers and appropriate sized boards. They look nice. Some are wire, some are fiber, some are hoses, some are electrical cables, just all over the boat. There's a real hose. All right, the mast was a complete assembly in itself. I mean, it was a project in itself. I decided to make the entire thing out of brass. so that it would be sturdy. But the downside was it was also very heavy. And I discovered the problem when I was transporting the boat. It would be pulling up shroud lines and things because as the boat would move in the trailer, momentum of the mast shaking back and forth was just too much to bear. So, but I did anchor it back down and won't move the boat too often. But anyways, a lot of the parts are again photo etched. The ladders are photo etched from my own drawings, as are platforms, using a variety of sized tubing. It slowly came together.
When you anchored that heavy mast, did you use epoxy or super glue?
Well, the problem was I didn't anchor it deep enough into the superstructure. I should have gone down maybe an inch or two, a couple of inches. It's more or less almost a surface mount with a little pin in it. So that it's not being supported by the mast, really. It's being supported more like by the shrouds and stuff. Part of the reason was because the way it was mounted on the prototype, it was half out on a platform that extended out beyond the superstructure. So I couldn't drill a hole in the superstructure cleanly. It had to be kind of half hanging off the superstructure on a welded platform. And the prototype is probably sturdy enough, but for the model, I probably should have gone into it somehow, or I don't know. It's done now.
Is the mast tapered?
It is slightly, but not in the traditional sense. There are segments that were more, they had a base segment, then a smaller, a narrower segment. So in a sense it was, but not in the traditional sense where it was more uniformly tapered throughout the mast.
Did you use rod or?
Tubing, and inside fitting tubing, telescoping tubing. And a little torpedo cart, which was carried on board the boat. That also is made of brass. Here it is in rough before painting and so forth. And it was used to kind of move the torpedo around on the deck so that it could be positioned for the derrick to pick it up and move it up to the next deck for loading.
Are there any pictures of you holding that penny?
I don't know who that guy was, but he had tiny little hands.
Where do you get your drugs?
Yeah, it's not sizable. And there it is, ready to be mounted up on the bulkhead. Okay, the radar screen. Gotta have a plan. I didn't know how to approach this other than to make it from scratch. There were no commercially available 1/4-inch bed spring radar screens available. And even the 1/8-inch scale ones were pretty plain. So I used these drawings to then manufacture my own using photo etching. There we have the framing for the screen in the etchant tank. And here's some of the framework for and you'll see how that all fits together. And the whole mast, the radar screen probably wasn't an inch tall, maybe an inch and a quarter wide or something like that. But soldering was a trick. Trying to keep it from melting one end to the other. You just have to be quick, and that's kind of a picture of the final product with all the little bells and whistles and little probes and things that are all in the picture. Yeah, I particularly like these little things here. They look like little Gatling guns. They were about, I don't know, maybe less than a 1/4 inch long.
You could go blind doing those.
Well, you use bigger glasses. That's what I do. I have a lit visor with a number 7 magnifier on it. The problem is You can't work too close to the model then, because you open into stuff. All right, moving on to the life rafts. Again, brass, this is how I framed them up. And these would be for the little slide off 25-man. Yeah. Brass hoops and things. I started out with a piece of acrylic that formed the basic shape of the raft, and adding details and ribbing and so forth. Here we got the little floats that are being sewn on, as is the centerpiece. Provisioned and then ready to be mounted onto the slide. Yeah,
Gene, on the rafts, it's acrylic. Did you buy the acrylic and then blend it?
you know, I may have had a piece of plastic around. I forget where I got it from. No, I think it was a shape that I just cut out, square out, and it just kind of hollowed out the inside, and it just. I only made one though, and then I cast the rest on. Another thing that I do, I don't build more than one thing. One thing is enough.
You have a picture of the stand without the rafts on it. Did you get it from a blueprint? Or
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
winging it?
No. I had some drawings that I was able to then, and of course also pictures of the boat. Now you can see very finely in the picture here. You can see where all the rope has a little bit of fuzz on it. That comes from dull coating. Well, one thing that I've learned is you take a torch and just very quickly swipe right by it, all the little fuzzies. Don't dwell, just a very quick pass with a torch, and it cleans all that up very nicely. And it'll work for any rigging, but you got to be quick. I wouldn't try it on a fully rigged sailboat because there's too much going on there. And I've heard of people setting it on fire.
Jack used to do that when he made his own road. When it
Yeah,
was still
exactly.
Hanging across, he would just go like that with the torch, with the light.
Exactly.
Go with fuzz on.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you can use wax, but even the wax doesn't get it all. All righty. The windshield. Again, photo etched, laid out, folded up, and then lined with thin pieces of plastic, like acrylic sheet. All righty. Now we're on to the point where I decided to do some weathering. I use a variety of materials. Mostly I like to work with powders and pastel chalks. I haven't developed the technique or knack for airbrushing. So a lot of it is just dry brushing and streaking. And it works out very well. I mean, you can take the powders and dip them in water. You can create like rough streaks, and you can blend them. So this is the medium that I choose to work with. And the important thing to remember with any weathering is be very subtle. You can overdo it very quickly. And you just have to kind of think like the rust. Be the rust. Where is water going to accumulate? Where is it going to rust? And also looking at photographs helps a lot too. Where things are going to rust and streak. And the streaking there is just done with powders and a dry brush, just streaking it down until the effect is achieved. And the nice thing about working with powders is if you don't like it, just take a little cotton swab, dip it in some water, wipe it right off. So just a little.
Did you explain powders?
Pardon?
What are powders? Powdered paint?
Powdered
Chalk.
paint. It's chalk.
Chalk mixed with water.
Yeah.
Well, chalk that you kind of rub it on.
Yeah, this is a set of weathering chalks that I got from Micromark. I forget the name of it. dock something or doctor something. or-
Dock somebody's.
Yeah, and it comes in a little kit and it's got like maybe maybe about 9 or so more different, tints of powders and things. And you can mix and match. And,
You can go to the art supply store and get.
yeah, that too.
Pastels and use it that way too. You just gotta grind them on a piece of sandpaper to get,
This comes from.
Yeah, it's just in a little jar. And of course, sometimes a little bit more is better. Here I tried to depict rust that was rusting up and building. So, and here you just take a little bit of moisture in there and just throw some powder in there, and it'll whip right in and build up.
Back up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it's just kind of crusting up a little bit.
No, one of your chops is there.
One of my what?
One of your chops there, the support chop for your base ring,
Yes.
that center one's
Yeah.
big gap there.
Oh, no. That's a lighting effect
Okay.
I purposely put in there.
Okay.
Two lions.
overall, you're not supposed to notice it.
But one thing about rust, it's not just one color. It's a variety of 3, maybe 4 different shades, depending on the age of the rust. The older, the darker. And that's how you have to kind of build it up. I'll get with you after the meeting.
Was it me?
Little chips and things and little streaks. Be very subtle. And that's the key to. That's right. Here's the expansion joint, and I was depicting where it might have slid over top of one. So one section, the top part would be cleaner, obviously, the rust wouldn't go up. It would be down underneath where it was being scraped. And like I said before, just kind of look at pictures, see the patterns, how chips and things might develop on a ship, scrapes and things. So there we go, just very subtle.
I just have one thing to say here. And I look at all these pictures of all the weather and so forth, and the image comes to my mind is the old grizzled captain standing there screaming at a first lieutenant.
Yeah.
It's that realistic.
Not on my ship.
Well, actually, this boat probably was never cleaner than in the picture. I mean, in reality, it went to sea and probably didn't see dry dock for the duration of the war. All right, moving on to pipes and plumbing. Here, some of the pipes and things around the stack. These were just formed from plastic tubing, heat formed, bent, easy to work. Here I applied a little bit of heat shielding, which would be painted. And here it would be installed with a flange attached. Stack details. And as these pictures are going forward, we're just layering on little details as we go, and trying to keep, I think this was a good stopping point to kind of regroup after a while. I couldn't find stuff. That's the way it goes. You build until you lose your tools, and then you got to start over. All right, the railing. I had to make all the stanchions by myself because there was none to be had, and they were pretty easy once I had the drawings. It was just a matter of tubing and drilling out the tubes for the little eyelets and building them up piece by piece like that. And these were ready to be installed. Here we go. Turnbuckles. This was a handy little thing. If you ever get into photo etching, you need a light box. I used to have to pin these things up to a window, and if I wanted to do any etching at night, out of luck, because you have to wait till the morning. But this was a little light box that I procured in one of the auctions. It used to be Clarky's. He had it at his place doing his films. That was worthwhile find.
You can get enough money for it.
Little etched
Notice how you.
turnbuckles for all the wiring. And building a railing using a tape to keep it all straight. This would be around the rangefinder platform, which you will see eventually. It took me a while to find the proper screening that I could use to simulate safety netting. But once I found it, it worked out perfectly. Here's a pass through for the chalks. You'll see where it was then cut out. And then this would be applied to the railing. And there's your safety netting. Oh, yeah, this is one of my favorite pictures. Online, I found the anchorage chart for Ulithi for World War II. Because the Campbell did spend quite a bit of time in Ulithi. It was based out of Ulithi and kind of went to the different campaigns in and out. So I found the chart, produced it, rendered it as a decal, and draped it over the table. So I figured, they're coming in for it. They got to know where to go. So there you go. Oh yeah, not actual pencils too. And this would be mounted on the on a portable table on the bridge, which would be able to be folded down. This just happens to be in the up position. And just filling out the bridge with all the little machines and gadgets and gauges and things. Just layering on the details. From here, then I would move on to the next stage, add wiring, plumbing, and stuff like that to all the little gauges. And I was fortunate to have some photographs that depicted the bridge, so I was able to replicate some of the components fairly accurately. Others are just kind of generic, a variety of different PEs and and what they might have on the bridge and where it might be.
Radar screen and decal also.
Yes, it is. And in fact, the suite is lined up with the screen. I tell you, no detail unnoticed. Like a flange that isn't welded to the deck.
I'm a structural guy.
And we're gonna,
Oh, okay.
we're gonna hear the in the garage being remodeled.
All right. Each little battle station and cubicle had a buzzer and a bell for alarms and things. These I wanted to depict also. Unfortunately, they were quite tiny, but I was able to render it, as you will see from, again, photo etch. This represents the dome, and how I formed it was by annealing the brass and then forcing it into a dome, into a little hollow. I was able to create domes out of the brass for the bells. Here I'm cutting out bell blanks and then pushing them into the form. Then you end up with a bell. Well, this is the buzzer actually, but it's the same principle, same process. These are the buzzers. There's the bell.
Did they work?
But if you listen very carefully, they're very faint. And they're probably about maybe a little less than a quarter inch, maybe 3/16 the bells. And here they are in situ. All right, moving on to the strings. No sticks, but lots of strings. I like to use, well, I mean, especially for modern vessels, I'll use wire instead of thread or rope because it's not appropriate.
Solid.
Yeah, and a lot of this rigging, you can get from Bass Pro. It's leader line, and leader line comes in all variety of sizes and diameters. And by annealing it, you can form it around turnbuckles and things, tie it up very easily. And here are some of the flags. Again, they were the flags that were formed on foil, and you can see it, you can fold them, and they'll maintain a very nice shape. And I think I talked about the boat last month, but now that I have it rigged up, it was time to fill it with stuff. Because they were never really empty. They all had all kinds of ropes and survival equipment. Here's some of the restraining rigging for the boat. I just filled it with stuff that I figured that they might have in a rescue boat. And we're getting pretty close to completion. Here are some of the shapes that would have been stored in a little cubicle over to the mast. I think I hung maybe a shape up in the mast for anchorage, but I don't know what they all mean, but they all have different meanings and sequences. So, a logbook. Now, this is an actual page from the log. We had gone to the archives some years back when I got drawings from this, and my father-in-law served on board, and my wife wanted copies of a lot of the log pages that had his signature on them and so forth. So that's what we did. So I reduced one of the log pages. Now, granted, you wouldn't have a typed log page sitting on the deck like that. It's probably a handwritten notation and stuff like that at that station. But can you tell?
No.
No. So I just wanted something that represented a log.
Do you ever
It looked like a
figure out
book.
what the numbers on the helmets were for the,
No, they had to do with the station because each station had a number. And I guess maybe the helmets went with that station. I couldn't figure it out. So, some rope, probably covering some major flaw. Undoubtedly covering some major flaw. Now the backlight, these little acrylic lamps are turned on a lathe. They're anywhere from an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch in diameter.
You do clear coat those ones.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Once you clear coat it. Yeah,
That's a formation light, right? The one with the flaps on.
I don't know. It was in the
It's a
picture.
formation. It can only be seen from certain angles, so if the ship is following,
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what aspect the guy had.
Okay, so time to bring the crew on board. So these are all 3D printed sailors in 1/4 inch that I got from Shapeways. And you can get them in any configuration you want. So I ordered a whole bunch of them. And I like putting crew on boats because not only does it add life to the project, but it lends a good scale reference. So here's a couple of guys chatting it up on the foredeck. Some of the crew doing stuff. Most of the officers, I guess, up on the bridge. The dude with his arm on the binnacle, that's supposed to represent my father-in-law. I have a photo at home that has a picture very similar to that. That's my story, and I'm going to stick to
Needs a haircut.
it. Yeah.
Equation.
Yes.
Positions, can you actually move arms or you have to order?
No, pretty much I would fit them where they where they would, you know, best be
So
suited.
they can't be.
But I can, yeah, they're acrylic, and I have taken arms and legs off and repositioned them slightly so that they would be able to more, you know, accurately grip something or, yeah, they're acrylic. They're fairly robust at
They
this
can.
scale. So you can cut them off, rotate them maybe a little bit, glue them back together, a little putty paint. Never be the wiser. And of course, each sailor, they had to be, you know, weathered themselves. The jeans had to be lightened in spots. And oh, lots of sailors doing stuff that sailors do. Look busy. That's right.
They were busy with their paint.
Yes. And also last month we introduced the mini me, and that's where the mini me ended up in the arms of a sailor who's proudly displaying the model he made to very interested people. Apparently.
It flows.
And just some pictures around the deck. So at this point, I'm getting very close to having to do the display base. And what I mounted it on was just a sheet of plywood, because what I wanted to do was mount a mirror and have it sitting on a mirror, a full-length mirror, so that you can see the underside details. And to do that, I had to get a piece of mirror that was that had been cut holes in so that the mounts, the base pedestals, would go through the mirror and mount actually to the wood. You couldn't mount it to the mirror itself; it shatter it. And this isn't an attempt to keep drips from forming. Putting it in the drill and just painting it while it's turning. And there we have the acrylic mirror. I went with acrylic because it would be more pliable. So that's a very nice way to mount a model, I think, especially if you have a lot of details underneath. The nameplate, sporting some of my father-in-law's ribbons, a launching pin from the launching of the ship. And before we go, just a quick tour around the boat. So as one leaves, I got the other project in the back, waiting its turn for dock space. So one in, one out. Just some pictures that I've taken over the course of the construction. Different angles, just to show some of the details. It was fun trying to get a camera in there. What I found sometimes, what I could do is just take a little sliver of mirror, a broken piece of mirror, and lay a mirror in there and just shoot it there. That works.
Like Mark has a camera now.
Yeah, you know, I bought one of those things, and it's worthless. One of those endoscopes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does not. The resolution is horrible on it. Yeah, it's not very good.
Want to find a clog in your six. That's probably takes pictures of shit.
And this is another shot of the 40, which I think we saw last month, where I just added some details to the mostly complete rendering that I got from Shapeways.
What in the world are those canisters? Jerry can.
Yeah, those ammo cans. Yeah, I mean sometimes they would be mounted in racks, open racks and stuff. Yeah, these were just closed containers, and each one would contain, I think, two racks of 4.
I've seen the other kind,
Right.
ready service lockers.
Right. There's
How
inside.
did you make the helmets?
Pardon?
How did you make the helmets?
Oh, the helmets. I didn't. They were printed. Shapeways. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they already had them made, so why not? Yeah, save me a lot of trouble. And here's inside the forward 5H mount, which is details really lost because you're not going to be able to see it in your eye up against the wall, the core. Just some deck side views, and that pretty much is the conclusion of this project. And here it sits at home at in the gallery with the rest of the things. Yes. So I got room for maybe one more project, which is currently underway, the Olympia. So I think that pretty much takes care of the DE at this point. A lot of repetitious brass work, and unfortunately, I think Shapeways and a lot of the 3D printed products that I was able to find in this scale were appropriate for the model. I would buy it. And I mean, I'm not ashamed of using 3D printing. I mean, frankly, a lot of the components have been a lot better than I could have copied. So why not? You know, and there's no way I could
Better all the
carve
time,
figures.
too.
You know, there's no way. Figures are figures. You gotta go with what looks good. So it's a true multi-medium project. So that's it.
I have a question.
Question.
Does anybody in this room have a lot of experience with 3D rendering and printing?
Which is, would have done.
Well, John, you need to read the logbook.
Well, I guess I need to.
No, he needs to look at the logbook. He hasn't read the logbook from last time.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go.
It's in English.
I know. That's-
Alrighty, guys, online. Well, I appreciate you being here. Hopefully we'll, yes, Mort, you have a question?
Gene, the figures from Shapeways, were they stock figures? Or did you tell them the shapes and the sizes you want or the positions you want?
These are stock figures. They're made by a guy by the name of, D. Stefan or something like that. Look him up, but you can just Google when you go to Shapeways, Navy figures or have you. And there's almost an endless supply of poses. I mean, some with K-Pox, full battle gear, some in relaxed poses. You'll be amazed if you've not gone and researched Shapeways for pieces like that. And you get them in all different scales, different eras. Like, for example, the Olympia is a U.S. Navy ship, but the uniforms resemble those of the old Royal Navy uniforms. So I'll put the Royal Navy guys on the boat, paint them up as U.S. sailors, because it's, so you can mix and match like that. But yeah, you'd be amazed. And if you have a 1/8 inch, what scale is your ship?
Set 172.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably find period figures that would be very useful to you. Yeah, I would go on Shapeways and just kind of look around. You'd be surprised at what you find.
Thank you.
I have a quick comment on that too. If you go online with a site called Model Warships, all one word, .com, they have a lot of vendors there that advertise. You might not find them if you just did a Google search, but if you go to this website, they have all kinds of vendors with all kinds of scales, parts, they make your job search easier. I know I've seen some 1800s or thereabouts Royal Navy folks. I don't remember what scales, but there's all kinds of things. It's not just modern.
Thank you.
And I know I've said it before, you know, I mean, there's an argument for the purity of building in wood and, you know, and, you know, scratch building and all that stuff. But, you know, I've said it, that, you know, my goal is to have a nice looking model at the end. So the end justifies the means. So I will use any and all technologies to cheat my way to a model.
As we can see.
As you can see.
Good for
Any other
you.
questions?
Or the art.
All righty. Well, guys, glad to see you. Hope that we'll see you again next month. And I guess this concludes the festivities. Take care until next month.
Thank you. Have a good month. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. That model was just stunning.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. Except for some of the repairs I have to make on some of the welding. All right. See you then. Bye.
All right. Look forward